We are back with another live episode of Bully Ball on the Gold Standard Podcast Network. I'm Jason Aponte, joined as always by Steph Sanchez. Steph, how are you? Hair's looking glorious today.
And I almost put a hat on before we went live, actually, because I was like, my hair's not behaving today. It's not, you know,
I put a hat on.
sometimes it does its thing, and I get annoyed. You guys probably don't even notice, but
I put a hat on, but because inflation's real and it cost me $50 per haircut, I'm going in between every other week now. So
hey,
that's why I'm taking one week off. But you
it's
know what
nasty out there.
doesn't take a week off is 49ers wide receiver rumors. And we got a report today that 2 hours prior to day two, the 49ers finally said definitively, we're not trading Debo Samuel. And this is a report from Jeremy Fowler that says the 49ers did discuss Debo Samuel with teams on day two of the draft, but a source said definitively 2 hours before the second round that San Francisco isn't moving him. The intrigue deepened when San Francisco took Florida wideout Ricky Pearsall, a player most teams had pegged as a second round pick at number 31. He can be a nice number 2 or 3 receiver, a good player, but that was a bit of a reach, in my opinion. And NFL personnel evaluators said of Pearsall. Added an AFC exec, they wanted a route runner like the Rams have in Puka Nacua, probably see him in the same role. Scouts thought second round corner Ronaldo Green was a bit of a reach too, but it's hard to argue the 49ers don't maximize talent under Kyle Shanahan. Steph, react to more Debo Samuel trade news, even though this says, and we know for a fact that Debo Samuel's not getting traded.
Yeah, this told me absolutely nothing. I mean, I was looking forward to this piece from Jeremy Fowler, actually, because it was like draft intel from all 32 teams, and I was like, oh, cool. Like, I wonder what he's gonna say about the Niners. I wasn't expecting more trade talk. Like, I thought we put this to bed, and I mean, I'm over it. It didn't happen. Didn't That piece didn't tell me anything that we didn't already know, so I was a little frustrated by that. And it's not surprising the 49ers decided 2 hours before day two that they weren't going to trade Debo because we already knew he's still on the team. So, yeah. And then as far as other teams saying that the 49ers picks were a reach, every single team in the NFL has a different board, a different consensus to like where they feel certain players should go. Um, and then there's the fan consensus too, which is even worse because a lot of that comes from mock drafts, and mock drafts are not real. So I mean, I'm not. I don't care what other teams have to say about the 49ers reaching. It wasn't as egregious as them taking a kicker in the third round last year. So this I can live with.
Ooh, all right. Well, let's say this. I guess for the group of 49er fans that never believed that Debo Samuel was ever a part of any trade talks, I think this is the only thing that you can really learn from it is that the 49ers may not have been actively shopping, but definitely were looking for some sort of price tag as they usually do when they field calls in terms of, well, if we get blown away, all those things. So I guess for the 49er fan that never believed that there was ever a chance Debo Samuel can get traded, I guess that's something that you learn from this. Other than that, again, we're still talking about wide receiver trades when both wide receivers remained on the team, despite what people have been saying about my source continues to. The source per sources, Brandon Ayuk and Debo Samuel are going to be 49ers next season. So I think this will probably be the last time we talk about this, although I doubt it. But I do want to put this one to bed and just get it out of the way right off the rip. But nothing screams 49ers offseason like a number 7 wide receiver on the 49ers yapping about. Now, I guess you guys all know on Friday, Willie Snead is all on Twitter talking about, I want to go somewhere where I can compete. So, Steph, I am going to do this as politely as possible. First, I want to do a compliment sandwich, Willie Snead. What a compliment sandwich is when a boss brings you into the office and he has something that he needs you to improve on, but he doesn't end the conversation with something negative. He ends it with something good and he starts it with something good. Compliment sandwich. Okay, Willie Snead. Here's the first compliment. I enjoy your fire. I think any player in this league should want more opportunity. Think they deserve more opportunity. I think that's great. I think that's absolutely great. Middle part. Let's just start with how the 49ers run their offense. And this is where you're going to find your answer. So, first of all, 49ers ranked 30th in passing attempts 52.8% of the time, right? Throwing the football. That's second to last for the people that are, hard with math. On first down, they did throw the ball 54 to 45%, which is actually really, really intriguing. 21 personnel is the most utilized first down grouping at 42%. The second highest would be 11 personnel. That's three receivers, one tight end, one running back at 22%. Those three wide receivers that are most utilized, Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, Willie Snead, which one of these three guys do you think you're better than? Now, let's take it a step further. Debo Samuel missed some games, and that opened the door for another receiver. Wasn't Willie Snead, though. It was Ray McCloud. Ray McCloud actually had 155 passing snaps. So, where exactly do you fit, Willie Snead? And when we're talking about opportunities and all that, the 49ers were the only team to give you an opportunity to even be on any team. Nobody was really busting your door down, Willie Snead. Okay, compliment sandwich on the other side. Willie Snead, I really enjoy your passion, man. I think that that's really something that lights up a room and that you're really passionate about. But come on, man. What are we doing here, Steph? I don't understand where people get the legs to stand on when Ray McCloud is the guy ahead of you, when Chris Conley's the guy ahead of you, when Willie Snead is literally just sitting there as the seventh receiver. I don't get it. Who do you start over? Who do you play over? Any of those guys?
This just reminds me of that one quote, "Who cares what Ja Rule thinks at a time like this?" And I see it very, very similarly with Willie Snead and Ray McCloud saying these things after the fact, after their time with San Francisco. You said it very great. Like, Jay, you were very nice. I like the compliment sandwich thing. I don't know if I can be quite as politically correct here, but I will say, respectfully, I don't think those guys earned their opportunities with the 49ers. The only time that they got opportunity was when other players got hurt. That's your opportunity to show what you have, to show, hey, I maybe deserve more snaps. All right. That's your one shot for guys who are lower on the depth chart. And that's not something unique to them. That's literally any guy that's like buried on the depth chart. Hey, Brock Purdy was once that guy who was once the third quarterback on the roster, right? What did he do? He made the most of his opportunities. And what did the 49ers do? They made him the starting quarterback. Yes, it happened after Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt, but they weren't scared to stick with Brock Purdy after he showed that he was worthy of getting the starts and getting those extra snaps, right? So to say that they're afraid is probably stretching the truth a little bit, and maybe it's a little to feel better about what happened in their time in San Francisco. And the reality of it is they weren't able to do too much with their time here, but I mean that I don't think they have anyone else to blame but themselves. And I agree, Jay, like Willie Snead, when he was on the field, I liked what he did, but I'm with you. Like, he's not going to be getting snaps over Debo, over Ayuk, even over Juwan Jennings, just because of where they are on the depth chart. Like, and those guys are frankly better at what they do than Willie Snead and Ray McCloud is right now. And the Ray McCloud one, for some reason, just pisses me off a little bit more, just
Yeah.
because when he got the opportunity, we know what happened. Like missing your assignments, that can't happen. And there was miscommunication issues with him and Brock Purdy right off the bat when Debo got hurt and he got those opportunities. So it's like, and he wanted to chime in right after Willie Snead said those things. So that's what kind of like, bothered me about all that. Now, I'll say this, like we've had this conversation before of the 49ers being such a deep team that a lot of the guys that they bring in and not just rookies but even, some of these veterans don't really have a chance to compete. But that's not to say that they didn't have opportunities, right? It's just that, you know, guys are better than them. The guys that are ahead of them on the depth chart are better than them, and they play better than them. So I don't know. It's kind of twofold. This isn't something that just impacts the wide receivers. I think this is something we've kind of seen with other position groups as well. Um, and then my issue with it that I've mentioned in the past is that I don't know if we've seen enough development from some of the like younger players behind the scenes for them to then compete. So then my question was a few weeks ago was, well, do the 49ers have an issue developing guys? Like, is that something that we should worry about? I'm not worried about the team being too deep. That's an excellent problem to have. So it's natural for these guys to be upset that maybe they didn't get a great opportunity, but at the same time, look in the mirror and see what you did with those opportunities.
And Willie Snead isn't exactly getting bust down from teams trying to offer him opportunities. So for him to say for 3 years it's been entitlement, you don't have to be here if you don't want to be here. The reason you're here is because the 49ers are the only team affording you this opportunity. One more quick thing. Where exactly do you play, including the fact that the three guys that primarily do are better than you, when both Debo and Ayuk are outside? Jawan Jennings works out of the slot. 188 of his 326 receiving snaps came inside. And the San Francisco 49ers, of their 979 plays in 2023, 376 came from 11 personnel, which was 31st in the NFL at a 38.4% clip. Only the Atlanta Falcons ran less out of 11 personnel at 15.5% rate. Willie Snead, I don't know why you're lashing out. The 49ers gave you a chance. They allowed you to hang around on the roster because you were a veteran in case the team went to hell and they had someone who can actually has played the game. But where is this coming from? You don't have to be in San Francisco. Don't act like you're locked up here. For 3 years, I haven't had an opportunity. This was your only opportunity. I think I'm done talking about Willie Snead. I think I'm done talking about Ray McLeod. And Gray Fox says Willie Snead's face looks like he hopped out of a PS1 game. That is completely out of pocket when I was just trying to keep it, respectful and everything as well, too. But Gray Fox, thank you for the donation, buddy. Speaking of third receiver, I have an article coming out in a little while that I think you guys should check out around 3:15 about the third receiver spot. And Jawan Jennings seems to have this locked down, right? And I think he has it locked down because of his role on third down. 20 of his 29 receptions went for first downs. He's a phenomenal blocker, and he finds himself in clutch spots, right? But what if this might be the year that we see someone overtake Jawan Jennings' 29 receptions as the third leading wide receiver? Now, Christian McCaffrey led the team with receptions with 86. Right behind him, right behind him, Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel, and George Kittle tied. And then Jawan Jennings at 29. So when I say third wide receiver, I mean the third wide receiver on the team that catches passes, not the third pass catcher. Now, I have a theory, and I'm going to bounce this off on you, Steph, that with everything that we've seen this offseason in terms of how they brought in separators, how they feel like another offseason of Brock Purdy feels like the 49ers aren't going to change from a run first team, but they are going to throw the ball more. So there may be more opportunities. So more opportunities, right? More passing attempts, a possible Debo Samuel injury, which you almost have to look out for almost every single year for either 1 or 2 or 3 games due to his physical nature. And the fact that we might be able to see somebody clear 29 receptions from Jawan Jennings, whether that be Ricky Pearsall or Jacob Cowing. Now, the only thing that I'd say is if there are more passing attempts to go around, and then Jawan Jennings surely would get some more targets as well, too. So it's not like he just sit around at 29. But you see where I'm going? More passing attempts, more chances for the ball to get around, the more trust in Brock Purdy and separators. Steph, 29 receptions doesn't seem like something that is going to be completely out of the question for either Pearsall or Jacob Cowing to clear, right?
Yeah, I think both of these guys are going to get some opportunities this year, and I don't think it necessarily is dependent on an injury. I think the fact that both of those guys kind of do stuff differently than the current group of wide receivers that we've kind of grown accustomed to on this team, I think it gives them an edge compared to wide receivers in years prior to get on the field this season, along with, the fact that you just raised that, hey, maybe the 49ers do want to pass the ball a little bit more. They certainly have a quarterback that they trust to be able to do that. And I think both of the guys that they selected fit well with Brock Purdy's skill set of getting the ball out quickly, things like that. You talked about the separation as well. And so I think both of those guys are going to get an opportunity to get on the field in maybe specific games, specific matchups that they like, specific plays. And again, yes, an injury does open up the opportunity even more, but I really don't think it's dependent on that. Like, I think we'll see them get on the field regardless. Um, Maybe over Debo, even maybe over Jawan Jennings. Again, it's not going to be like a huge role, right? It's just going to be like one off here and there, just to see what they can do with those opportunities. And if they do well with those opportunities, they're going to continue to get it. Just like we were talking about before. If you do well with your opportunities, you're
That's what I
going
was
to
trying to
get
tie it
more.
to.
So, yeah, so that's how I feel that those two guys will be able to get a role in year 1, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And it's literally what we were just talking about, seizing your opportunity. And we saw for a little while Ronnie Bell got a chance to play. I think Ronnie Bell's pushed further and further out of the picture now more than ever, more of a special teamer than anything. But it's not crazy to think that with an increase of passing attempts, improvement from Brock Purdy with an entire offseason of not being injured, working with Ricky and working with Jacob, that it's not crazy to think that. Again, the 49ers were at the bottom of the league in passing attempts, the absolute bottom. They don't have to throw the ball 200 more times for this to happen. They just need a slight increase. And it's not crazy to think that that can happen. So it's still up for grabs in that way. I think Juwan Jennings, let me be clear. I think Jennings' role is solidified. A little bit of a little bit of attitude that he brings, obviously, with the blocking, but then the third down stuff, right? Like
Mhm.
we're talking about he's solidified, I think. And I think the 49ers are prepared after, well, he still hasn't signed his second round tender at this point, which is something that I find very fascinating still. Still think he's going to be here. I'm not saying anything to that degree, but it's still funny to me that I think they're going to try to use him as much as they can before he walks because someone else is going to pay him. But if the 49ers just increase a little bit, just a little bit with Brock Purdy's improvement, there's definitely a chance that both these guys can clear 29 receptions if, things go the right way. And what was a little bit shocking earlier when I was talking about the first down splits, 54 to 45 was a little bit shocking to see on first down. The 49ers were throwing the ball on first down a little bit more. I think that's
Yep.
your first indication of Kyle leaning towards Brock Purdy. I think after another offseason and after the way he performed, especially when the chips were down in the playoffs, it's a little bit of more, there's a little bit more of a confidence that's going to be there. So this is absolutely something to keep an eye on because you look at these picks and you say, well, these are future picks. And that's fair. But the way I've been looking at it is this is immediate depth right now. Because when Debo Samuel left the lineup, and obviously he left with Trent Williams, and that's something that you can't leave out, the offense didn't look the same. And the receivers had tough times getting open. Now you have guys that most likely can instantly step in and be better than Ray McLeod, Willie Snead, Chris Conley. It's not a high bar that they have to clear. So I don't want Debo to get hurt, but you'd be naive to not believe that there's a high chance, that Debo Samuel is going to miss some games this year. And now the 49ers have more depth at wide receiver than they probably have ever had, even with two players that haven't taken a snap yet. And I think that's the interesting part about all this.
I also want to add that I think what's big and often overlooked by fans with these wide receivers is blocking. I mean, you better know how to block too if you're going to get those opportunities. So that's part of the opportunity too. And that's what you have to show with that opportunity, that you are good at blocking. And so I think for rookies, that's a bit of an adjustment. That's a bit of a learning curve, just getting the right technique and all that. And what the 49ers liked, the way that they like their wide receivers to block and all those things. So as long as they show up in that regard as well, even better. Like we already know that there's some things that those guys do, Jacob Cowing and Ricky Pearsall, that those guys do that are better than what you said, the Ray McLeods and the Willie Sneads of the world, right? And so that right there is enough to get fans excited about them getting an opportunity. But what gets coaches excited too is you better block. So that's another aspect of it as well that I think fans often forget about.
Well, allow me to push back just a little bit on that, right? So I understand the whole no block, no rock thing, but I think that's more towards Brandon Ayuk because he's going to be on the field during base downs. So if someone's on the field for passing situations only, what are you blocking for?
So I thought about that too, but then I'm like, well, sometimes you have audibles, so you gotta check something at the line, right? I mean, it's possible that you go out there planning a passing play, but then you check into a run play, right? Like, I mean, it's rare, right? But that's possible. So I mean, I don't know. You just got to be ready for whatever. I agree. It is less likely that with those guys, and we're talking about them having a specific role and like them being in for just specific plays, that it won't be as important for them. But just overall, if we're expecting them to have a larger role, oh, he looks good with those two receptions that he had in that game. Let's see more. Well, maybe we're not seeing more because maybe they're still lacking in that blocking department. Just a thought, like, because
Yeah.
that's what I'm expecting from fans. It's like, oh, why isn't he getting more opportunities? Well, maybe it's something we're not seeing in these games, right? Just
And it might be in practice, right? On 3rd and 15, it's an obvious passing down. There's no need to block. Like you need to get there and you need to get out wide open. I don't think you're like. I mean, I'm not talking about like what your point, but there's gonna be no audible to a run, right? And for the no block, no rock people, Ross Dwelly's been on this roster for how many years, and he doesn't do anything. I don't even know if he catches passes. Forget block. So all this stuff again, the no block, no rock thing goes for the people that are gonna be in on base downs. If you are a strictly passing down situational pass catcher in any way, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. On 3rd and 15, there's no run play. On 3rd and 15, get open. You're not gonna have to
right.
block.
Yep.
Now, if we're talking about things that we're not seeing, it's 100% the practice thing, right? Like you're not practicing in a way that they like. And that's another thing, going back to what we were talking about with Willie Snead. Maybe you weren't practicing right. Maybe they just were like, "Oh, you don't have the juice." It's you're given the chance to practice and have opportunities all the time. The opportunities are in practice, and yet it's all entitlement. Well, Juwan Jennings, when he's on the field, is putting people in the mud and making big catches on 3rd down. Brandon Ayuk shaking people, getting wide open. Debo Samuel, one of the better playmakers on this team. I I don't understand that part. So when we're looking at it this way, what we're not seeing is the practice stuff. And this is what led to Brandon Ayuk in the doghouse, all that stuff. But
Yep.
again, situationally, if the 49ers need to stretch the field and get 15 and they bring Pearsall or Cowing on the field, it's not really going to matter whether they can block or not. They just got to find themselves as a separator and get themselves open and make plays. And if they are found in those situations, which is not where you want to be as an offense, regardless of the weapons that you have and the quarterback that you have, it's not a money down. 30 and 15 is not exactly where you want to be. Then they'll continue to get their opportunities. I think it's all relative to the player. So the whole like no block, no rock thing, that's not all the way down for every single player. It's for the base down guys who are going to be in on the pass on the rushing downs, not the situational pass guys. Because explain Ross Dwelly to me because I can't.
Respect Ross Dwelly, pal. He's
I
gonna be
guess,
back
man. It's
this
even on the
season.
roster. I don't get it,
He's
man.
done.
I like
Hey,
just.
he'll probably be back. I'm just saying
Of course, he'll
they
be
didn't draft
back. Oh, but he can't block, Steph. How is he going to be back?
Conversation for another day. The
Sorry.
tight end situation.
Sorry. The new barnacle, Ross Dwelly. All right. We're going to have a little bit of a quicker episode today, but I wanted to talk about something that I saw. I believe it was NBC Sports tweeted out. I believe it's 3 analysts' opinions of the best rivalries in the NFL. And 2 of them were on the 49ers. 2 of them chose the 49ers, but it was with two different opponents.
Yep.
And it got me to thinking, who is the 49ers' biggest rival? Now, I want to preface this because we do a lot of shit talking on this show, or I do. The Dallas Cowboys are not a 49er rival. Not recently. You know why? Because you didn't win. You don't win. Now, Chris Sims says it's the Chiefs and the 49ers. That's not a rivalry either. You know why? Because the 49ers haven't won. And they're 0-3, including the regular season against them. So, rivalries have to be when one team wins and the other team wins. Not when one team is dominant, and you never beat them. So, I think, and I don't know, I can't see, Sim's third one. The Philadelphia Eagles and the San Francisco 49ers are much more rivals than the Kansas City Chiefs or the Dallas Cowboys, in my opinion, because they've gone back and forth and beat each other. What would you say to that?
I agree. And Jay, I am glad they're keeping that same energy because we have said on the show so many times that it cannot be a rivalry if you don't at least win one. Like you
Right.
have to win for it to be a rivalry. So yes, we're keeping that same energy. I was thinking the exact same thing when I saw that. Kansas City, we hate them. We don't like the way they dress. We don't like the way they talk. We got disc
You
records
don't like
for
the
them.
way they walk.
But it's not a rivalry.
Yes.
On the other hand, yes, I think Eagles is definitely up there with, the trash talk that goes on with both of those teams that have gone on in the last 2 years between those two teams. I just want to see more. Like there needs to be like a third game for it to like be a rivalry, like officially. I don't know if
we
like,
settled all family business with Big Dom at the combine. John Lynch loves them. They dapped each other up. It was like a scene from The Godfather. They sat down, they had a drink, they shook hands, and they said cease fire. So the Big Dom thing's not even there anymore. We just got beat with the Eagles.
Yeah, man. So what do we even have anymore? Like who are we rivaling against? I mean, Eagles definitely could be in the discussion. I've seen people like I saw someone say Rams. That has definitely been one that's like kind of back and forth, like
the
that's
Rams is
definitely
absolutely the Rams
and that will
is
continue.
absolutely up there. Yes, that's
And that
going
will
to continue. So
Yes.
I would say the Rams are up there. I would say the Rams are up there more than the Eagles because of the game that they won and the fact that they're divisional rivals, right? Although this year the game that the Rams won was played by the replacements and
I wouldn't even count that one.
Right,
I would
right.
of course count the NFC championship game.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. For a while, that wasn't a rivalry. They were still, the same old sorry ass Rams. But then they did something to change it into a rivalry. They won in the NFC championship game. So that's what changed that. That's why it's not Dallas. You got to win a game before that. That's why it's not us and the Chiefs. We got to beat them once. That's why it's not even Seattle at this point.
Yeah,
they got to win one soon.
Crazy. Which is
they
crazy.
Got to win one soon. They got to win one soon because when they were kicking the Niners' ass all those years, it wasn't a rivalry. We were just mad at them. Beef can't be one-sided. It's not, oh, they hate me. No, you hate them and they don't think about you. That's us with Dallas. That was Seattle with us. That's us with Seattle now. Now, the Packers could be creeping into a rivalry, right? But they got to win one. Yes. They got to win one.
Yep.
And the Lions could be creeping into a rivalry. They got to win one, though, right? So for me, right now, in the NFC, what we're looking at in terms of a rivalry is the Rams and the Eagles. In my opinion, all that other stuff is you hate us, we don't think about you. Because even the Dallas games, They're not even putting up fights in these games. It's so it can't be a rivalry. At least with us and the Chiefs, the one game was a blowout, which was that the regular season game at Levi's.
Yeah.
Super Bowl was really close, and so was the other Super Bowl. But it's still not a rivalry until you win the game. So it's the Rams and the Eagles, in my opinion.
I agree. And I wholeheartedly agree on the Packers and Lions being close. Um Chicken's coming to roost on the Packers, I think. Like
Oh, yeah.
people don't
And
people
they had a
don't
pretty
hear
good
that.
draft, too. It's
Yeah,
not
I
cool,
know.
man. All right, look, we can stretch this out because we have a little bit of a hard out, but all right, fine. I will lean into it, even though I said earlier that we didn't have to talk about it. The Jordan Love and Brock Purdy debate. Now, let me start this by saying I believe Brock Purdy's better than Jordan Love. Let me also keep going with this and say this is 100% a debate. It's not a hands down Brock Purdy is better than Jordan Love thing. This isn't Brock Purdy against Baker Mayfield. This isn't Brock Purdy against Desmond Ritter. It's not hands down. It's not hands down. It is a debate. Brock Purdy is better, but it's a debate, Steph. Come on. We have to say it's a debate.
I hate these kind of debates. Like these annoy me. One, because it's to me, I find these very pointless. And two, it's just they're different quarterbacks and they each do different things better than the other. You know what I mean? Like they're they're different. Same but different. I get the parallels of why people want to compare them. Um, but I don't know. Do I have to say who I think is better right now?
You don't have to. I mean, I'm going to jump out there because what I'm saying is Brock Purdy is better today. I don't
Yeah,
know if Brock,
he's more polished
right.
for sure.
I don't know if Brock Purdy
And
is going to be better forever. That's
yeah.
not what we're talking about.
See, that's fair.
We're
That's
talking
fair.
about right now. And there's still a world where Brock Purdy gets better, which I believe has happened. It's literally
Yeah.
been the crux of my argument about why I believe that there could be another receiver that emerges for the 49ers. And what about Jordan Love improving? See, this is the thing. When you wrap yourself in an absolute, you put yourself in a corner to where you have to continuously back up that take without any wiggle room. And I know that's a boring take on my part. I know you want me to smash the table and say Brock Purdy will be better for his entire career. No debate. Jordan Love will. No, 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 no. It's going to be a debate moving forward, regardless of the ages. They're both going to be going into their second full season starting, even though Brock Purdy has more experience, obviously, because he played the time that he did in the season before. Today, Brock Purdy is better than Jordan Love. Tomorrow, I don't know. This is why we have to watch and play these games out. Because how many times have we done this with other quarterbacks? Baker Mayfield looks great in his first season. Everybody says, hey, that looks like the guy who's the number one pick. All of a sudden, he regresses the next season. And then he comes back and he's now just a solid starter, which is very valuable. But stop trying to predict tomorrow instead of just looking at what's going on today, which is Brock Purdy's better than Jordan Love today. But it doesn't mean
Yeah.
that he will be better forever. And both of these guys have a chance to improve.
And I'll just say, like Jordan Love I think has the better tools, but Brock Purdy has kind of put it all together right now, right? And that's what we're saying with maybe less tools. Um, so yeah, you can make the argument, but that's why I don't like getting into those arguments because then people are gonna find the one thing that fits their narrative and run with that, and you're just not gonna convince the other side, no matter what.
Listen, sports were built on hypotheticals. People have built their career on, on using hypotheticals to prove some sort of point and to act like they're smart. So for us, we have the offseason. The 49ers rookies will be actually reporting on the 10th or the 9th, I believe. And then the 10th is the first practice day. So although we won't be able to watch it, it'll be media only. We'll go by these media reports and stuff. In a few days, we'll be able to talk about actual football and performances and who looks good because then we won't have to debate whether Brock Purdy's better than Jordan Love, whether Willie Snead deserves a shot over Chris Conley and the Keystone Cops, or the fact that Debo Samuel wasn't traded, and everybody can say, well, it was 2 hours before. We're almost there. We're almost there. We're clawing to the finish
Thank you.
line of no more hypotheticals, no more nonsense, actually dissecting football, actually talking about football, and not things that revolve around football to pass the time in the off season.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We still have a couple more like lulls of the season. There's like, or on the off season, there's like two more like really dead periods we got to go through. But man, I can't wait to talk about actual football. We back.
We are back, and we're out of here as well too. So make sure you guys subscribe to the Bully Ball podcast and the Gold Standard Podcast Network wherever you get your audio podcasts. Make sure you like and subscribe to the video on the Gold Standard Podcast Network channel. Maybe you shoot, Steph and I a little follow on YouTube as well. Steph 49K, Steph Sanchez, Jason Aponte on there. Follow Steph on Twitter at Steph 49K. Follow me on Twitter at Jason Aponte 2103. Make sure you go to goldstandardniners.com for your writing needs and other things that are on there, including links to the podcast. But fun episode, almost talking football for Steph, for Jay. We're out of here.
Peace.